intelligence brings success, yeah. Understand yourself and others and love your pets, yeah.
I think the coolest is that she's a designer, and Barbara, you can fill us in if I say anything wrong, but you're a designer. You work for the likes of Nike, New Balance. I believe you were a designer at Walmart for 6 of their sportswear brands. You designed for Serena Williams, or it was Venus?
Venus.
Was it Venus or
Venus.
Serena?
It was Venus.
I don't want to get it wrong because both of them, Venus. Yep, Venus. And then she also wore one of your designs at one of her big matches in the French Open, I believe, right?
Doubles.
Did I read that correctly? I may have read that wrong, but this is pretty cool. So Barbara obviously has something going on in the pet industry. Her company is called Lick You Silly Pet Treats, and that's why she's on with us today. But also, her emotional intelligence and the things she's achieved in life, I think this will be great for young entrepreneurs, especially young ladies. So, Barbara, thanks for being on the show, and welcome. How are you today?
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, for sure. Thanks for being on. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us about your story. Tell us about how you became an entrepreneur, where you're from. Start when you're a little girl and briefly bring us up to where you're at in life right now.
You really want me to start? Girl.
Yes, where are you from, what city? Because it tells a lot about you. I'm big on knowing people's background, and people can relate to you when they see that they're from a similar place, similar background, and they can achieve what you've been doing.
Yeah, well, thank you. So I grew up in Portsmouth, Virginia, if you don't, in the Tidewater area, and always knew I wanted to be a fashion designer. I was able to attend IC Norcom High School, which you had to pick a major, and I picked fashion design. And that was where I really got my first taste of designing clothes. But prior to high school, I was a model. And I modeled in a lot of the fashion shows that were in and around, Virginia Beach. And, I did that for a number of years, and later taught at Barbizon, which was kind of interesting. So I attended Norcom, studied fashion design, fell in love with it. And once I graduated, I was determined to go to Pratt Institute. And so my mother was a single parent. We didn't grow up with much, but she raised me with big dreams. And so she didn't have the money to send me to Pratt. I didn't even know. I said, God paid for my education. I have no idea. I don't know how she pulled it off. But nonetheless,
Awesome.
So when I applied for Pratt the first year, I didn't get in. So here's a lesson for people and students who might hear this. So I didn't get into Pratt, and I only applied to Pratt because that was the one school I wanted to go to. And when I didn't get in, I was devastated, of course. But you try to make lemons, and I decided to go to Tidewater Community College, where I
for sure
my liberal arts classes, and I applied to Pratt the following year, and I did get in. And incidentally, they took all of those liberal arts classes that I had taken, at the community college. And I didn't have any classes on Friday. So not having any classes on Friday at Pratt afforded me the ability to be able to focus more on design and be able to shine when it came to my senior show. So by the time I got to my senior show, so actually that was when I worked at Barbizon, and I went to Tidewater Community College. So that was kind of what I did in between. So once I got to Pratt, and I went through, my whole 4 years. So my senior year came, we only had a requirement to do like 3 garments. And when you have your senior show, that means that there are a lot of people from the industry that are going to be there. And the goal is that you want to get offered a job. That was my goal, because I wasn't going to go back to Virginia. That wasn't a part of my plan. So I did 12 garments as opposed to the 3. So I won a number of awards, based on that. Got offered 2 jobs. One was with Ralph Lauren, who really didn't pay any money, and I was going to be an assistant. And the other was with Adidas, and which we call Adidas here in the U.S., but it's really pronounced Adidas. And And they
Uh-huh.
offered me a position where I was just going to be a designer for boys 8 to 20. Now, honestly, wasn't interested in activewear. Activewear, in the late 80s, early 90s isn't what it is now. It wasn't a sexy place. However, I didn't realize that I was creating a niche for myself. So I stayed with Adidas, and a year and a half later, they offered me this opportunity to go to Fontainebleau, France. And I moved to France, and which was a huge opportunity. Oh my God, it was life changing, because even when I was asked,
Yep.
my boss offered me this opportunity, and he offered it to me because I was designing a lot of product that was making a lot of money for the company. And I said,
Sure.
I failed French with a 69. It just wasn't in my sphere to be able to live in France. Never dawned on me. And so I just got married, and my husband said, "We're going to go, right?" And I'm like, well, yeah, I guess. So they ended up offering my husband the ability to get his working papers, because he was a civil engineer. He was going to need to work while he was there. So he ended up getting a job at Euro Disney. Of course, Adidas never got the working papers for him, so they ended up paying him his New York City salary, which was pretty amazing, just because it was just not going to be a good look for them. So in any event,
Awesome.
I was able to work for the company, and it was an incredible opportunity. So we lived in France. We lived right across the street. We lived at a 5-star hotel for 6 months, right across the street from the Napoleon, we stayed at Napoleon, but it was across the street from where he bought Josephine the castle as a wedding gift. So it was amazing. And then after about 18 months of being
Awesome.
there, they closed the office and moved it back to Herzogenaurach. So I went to Germany, and just to finish my collections. And so that's when my boss said to me, hey, do you want to stay on as a consultant? And I'm like, well, what do they do? And so I said, sure. He's like, yeah, same money, everything. You just fly to Germany once a month. That's your commute. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that. So I was a consultant for 5 years, and Germany was my commute. And while I was there, I continued to design product that was doing a lot of volume for them. And they offered me my own segment of business, which I called Trefoil. And Trefoil was sort of the streetwear collection that I put together. It was very pre-Beyonce. We added footwear the second season. It became the concept, the incubator for the Adidas original stores. So that was really exciting. So I did a lot of product. They did a lot of volume that, got in some magazines. And so that's always really exciting. And as a result of consulting with them, so when they closed the office in France, a lot of my colleagues moved to bigger companies of the same caliber, and they called on me to do freelance projects. So that was really how I started my consulting business. So I worked with Nike and New Balance and Asics and Speedo and Zogs and Jockey. I was design director for 6 of Walmart's activewear divisions. I worked for Fubu, for Fila. Oh, and then the second funny thing with Fila, so I had gotten pregnant, and I said, okay, I'm done with the travel, because the travel was a lot. Commute to Germany once a month. At the time, it was a lot. So I said, I'm ready to slow down a little bit, and, time to have a kid if I'm ever going to have it. And as soon as I gave birth to her, my old product manager called me, and he said, Barb, I want you to come and work with me at Fila. And I said, but I'm not going to move to Italy. And he said, no, you don't have to move. You just come over like twice a month. So I did that for 2.5 years until that was just too much. And I started to look for more, domestic clients. And so that's where Walmart came in. And then because of Walmart, then I went to work on a special project with Serena. And then because of that project with Serena, then I was introduced to Venus. And then I worked for Venus for 4.5 years to reboot her brand, 11 by Venus. And then I started my dog treat brand, Lick You Silly Pet Products, somewhere in between while I was working for Venus, because I went to her and I said, V, I'm really thinking about starting a dog treat brand. And the reason why I wanted to start the brand was because my dogs couldn't eat store-bought treats. I had 2 small Yorkies, and one was like 3 pounds. Whenever he ate some treats, he would just get sick. Mm-hmm. So I started to bake them, and then it just wasn't conducive with my schedule. So I said, you know what? One day I'm going to start a dog treat company. Seriously, not believing myself that I was actually going to do it. And so while I was working with Venus, and at the time I think she and Serena had like 5 dogs. And she's like, Barb, you should do it. And I'm like, Venus, I don't really know anything about, dog treats other than opening up a bag. She's like, Barb, just surround yourself with really smart people. I said, yeah, well, you can afford really smart people. So, so then from there, I just spent a year just doing a lot of research and just trying to understand the pet industry, finding out all the garbage that went into a lot of these, the treats, which was why my dogs were getting sick. And just decided I wanted to do a single ingredient product. And that's how I landed on freeze-dried beef liver and chicken liver. I knew what was in it. It was just meat. It was just freeze-dried. So, but it had to be all natural. So I spent some time looking for suppliers that can provide the products. And then that became a huge headache because you have to buy so many thousands and thousands of pounds of treats in order to get any decent pricing. And so the company I landed on, I literally had to beg the CFO if they would sell to me. And he's like, sign an NDA. I don't want a lot of people coming to me, wanting to do small volume. He wanted to do big volume. I get it. But he sold to me, and I'm still with that same supplier now. So that was really like how it all happened. And just fell into it. And so, and actually last year I did a collaboration with Kohl's. I was a guest designer for Kohl's, and I designed, it was about 10 collections for them, for men's, women's, girls, and boys. And so that collection was really successful. It was supposed to be for the D&I customer. And I increased the company's sales from 2% of minorities to 26% in about 6 weeks. And we just sold it in 300 doors, and it was sold online. So it was really successful. So I'm very proud of that work.
Oh, awesome. I mean, you're a pioneer, to say the least. I mean, and reinventing yourself is something that you obviously do well. And that's a huge part of emotional intelligence, is knowing who you are and where you want to be, and then how do you take the steps to get there. I think that's amazing. You told us about your story and how you've moved through entrepreneurship. You've gone a little bit into the pet industry and how you did that. I think it was perfect what Venus told you, is surround yourself with smart people. But that also starts with you paying attention enough to see what the needs are of people so that you can put the smart people around you. So that's wonderful. Let's go through COVID, because obviously as an entrepreneur, we've all made it through COVID, and some didn't make it out with their company intact. Some did, and we were blessed to do that. And obviously your company's made it through COVID. How did you do that? And what did that look like for you? Did you pivot? Did you shut things down? What did you do? Let us know how you made it through COVID, because what I find as an entrepreneur is a big deal when you make it through hard times like that, because in America, we talk about small business a lot. And around election time, we hear small business. But what I find as a small business owner is that it's not always as warm on the ground as it sounds in the media. So how did you, as a small business owner and the CEO of all these different things you have going on, make it through COVID?
Okay, so, well, I always say, people love a great entrepreneurial story where they've overcome, but they have no idea that by the time they've heard about you, oftentimes you've been building this company for like 10 or 15 years. Right. And there's a lot of, heartaches and headaches that went into it. There's a lot of great wins, too, along the way. But yeah, I mean, it sounds good, but it's not cut out for everybody. And so the way that I survived COVID was I was working with a company in the city doing design work. And I've been with that company for about 2.5 years and, doing apparel design, and really helped turn that company around and really help it grow. And then when COVID hit, it was supposed to be like, hey, we're just going to take a day off. And then that day off went into, hey, we're going to close the office down. And incidentally, prior to COVID, probably about 2 months before that, I was in conversations with the Home Shopping Network. And we were supposed to do an initiative with my dog treats, and it fell through because the buyer got COVID, And so I had pre-ordered a lot of dog treats in preparation for that because we were talking about, show times, and it had gotten down the road a ways. And so when she got COVID, and basically it was like, yeah, we're not going to move forward. I was a little upset about it, but I'm like, all right, now I just got to figure out how to move all these dog treats that I purchased, like 400 pounds of dog treats, right? In the scheme of things, it's not a lot.
Oh, wow.
But when it's a home business and you got 400 pounds of dog treats in your home, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So in any event, when COVID hit and people started to adopt dogs, that was the beginning of it. So, and then Amazon only allowed 6 categories of business, which they called essential business, to be able to ship to Amazon so that they wouldn't, they were efficiently using the workers in their warehouse. And pet treats and dog food was one of those essential products. And so I went through that 400 pounds of dog treats in probably 2 weeks. Like, my business was really on fire during COVID. Because everybody, as soon as you get a new pet, you're like, I want the best for my dog. I want to give them, And so a lot of people purchase from me and continue to. And that really catapulted my business. I think my ranking went from like 160,000 to like 15,000. If you know anything about Amazon, the lower your ranking, that means that indicates how quickly your product sells. So we were going through a lot of product, and it was, at one point it was really tough to kind of keep up with it all. And so and then and it just continues. I mean, it slowed down a little bit, but for the most part, it really was the thing that helped us to build our business.
Oh, awesome. So it sounds to me, another component of emotional intelligence is that you were prepared for the unknown, simply by doing the things beforehand. Even though that particular situation with Kohl's didn't work out, you didn't just throw the treats away or panic or go out of business. You found another avenue. And that's a huge of emotional intelligence, is where you make the best out of a situation that actually ended up being better than it may have been before. So that's awesome. As a founder, and I didn't even know the term founder until I was an entrepreneur for probably 7.
It wasn't with Kohl's. It was.
Oh, what did I say? I'm sorry.
It was with the Home Shopping Network. HSN.
Home Shopping Network. Well, I'm not a shopper.
Yeah.
My wife is. So a lot of times I don't even know the names of the stores. She's my stylist. I just say yes. I put it on. So Home Shopping Network. But as a founder, and this is a word that has become of much, much more importance to me, because it really says something. You found something in the earth. And I think we don't take that word as serious as it should be. As a founder, what did that look like for you? Did you see yourself as a founder when you started your companies? Especially, what does it look like different from an African American woman?
I've always seen myself as a founder, even when I was 6 years old and I was playing with my dolls, and, my bestie would come over and we would play store, and, I always had a boutique, and, I was, take my clothes out of my closet and put little price tags on it and keep a roster of the purchases. So I always saw myself as an entrepreneur. And, and I always felt like, I always felt in my gut that I'm meant to do something before I leave the face of the earth. I just feel like, I don't feel like anyone is put here just to be mediocre. I think that everybody's got a fire in their belly, but I truly recognize that fire in my belly. And I still do, because I know that there's still lots of things that I want to do. I'm actually in the process of getting my real estate license because it's on my bucket list. And I'm actually taking my test today, by the way. But, I think in terms of me being a woman of color, like, I've always been the kind of person where I just kind of keep my eye on the prize. I don't really look, to the right or the left of me. And, and I recognize what's behind me because I had to go through that. And I try to learn from all of my lessons. It hasn't been easy by any stretch. But I really just try to, my skin color is my skin color. And I always feel like I have to over deliver. I think we all do as people of color. We always have to over deliver. We always have to, almost be better than the best in the room. That's just how we were built. That's how we were raised, right? And so that's always been top of mind, for me, that, when when I have the privilege of being in a room, at a major company like the ones that I work for, I realize that it is a privilege. And I take it very seriously. And, I don't miss deadlines. And I offer value when I get into the door. And my relationships are really critical to how I built my business, because each and every one of them came through, all but one came through someone that I knew, that someone knew me. And I think it really speaks volumes that some 20 years later, I'm still utilizing my network to build my business. And I think of any entrepreneur who is in business, who you know is almost as important as what you know.
Love it. Love it. So many gems in there for young people to take, and not even young people, new entrepreneurs to really grab onto and move up a level and continue to move through the career. I think that's a lot of things they can take. What would you tell the 18-year-old Barabara? What would you, from all the things you know now and the ups and downs, what would you go back and tell yourself when you graduated from Pratt? What would you tell yourself then that you should have done that you didn't know?
I think what I would tell my 18-year-old self is not to worry, and not to worry so much, because it's all going to be okay, because it's always going to be always okay. And I think that I would definitely say to her, get yourself about 1,700 passive income streams in place very early on. Passive income is something that's like fairly new, to us. And, certainly in our demographic, some 15 years ago, we didn't understand passive income unless we had parents who were really educating us around that. What we really knew was, we knew about investing our money for retirement. We understood dollar cost averaging. We got that part, but we didn't understand the immediacy of putting in passive income streams in place so that you can use those income streams to be able to build other businesses. And so I wish I had learned that a lot easier, a lot sooner.
Yeah, that's a great lesson. I wish I would have learned that one too. And I agree. And it oftentimes, and I say this a lot to people when I'm talking to groups, is that we, a lot of times in our demographic, we may be first generation doing something. Yes. So we have to give ourselves some grace in doing that. Because it not necessarily, even from a marriage perspective, I had a single mother, like you said, so I didn't see a healthy marriage. Mm-hmm. So it was something that we had to learn how to do when we got married. So always give yourself some grace, people. If you're the first one in your family, even if you're the second or third or fourth one to do it, give yourself some grace, because entrepreneurship, business ownership is not easy. And I think you said something at the beginning of that question that is really important, is that it's always going to be okay. It is okay. It's okay to be overwhelmed. It's okay not to feel good. It's okay to want to quit. Just don't follow those feelings too far along the path, but it's okay to be a human. I love that. The last question, we have two more, but the one that's in depth. Sure.
The other thing I wanted to add is surround yourself with people who encourage you, empower you, and lift you up, and get yourself a mentor. Those are really critical pieces. And don't be afraid of failure.
Yeah, agreed. The circle, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. The circle.
Sure.
I mean, I was listening to something that, agreed. You got to have other people. I've become really good at being an island because I was in medical device sales, and that's something that I try to break all the time. But it was a great story of a Hall of Fame football player that matches up exactly to what you said. And his story is that, his first 4 or 5 years in his career, he was a good player. He was drafted. But it took a coach coming onto the staff that the team he was on, that was a veteran coach, that really knew how to pull the best out of him. And he said that he pulled him aside one day, and he said that you're the best player that I've ever coached. You're a future Hall of Famer, and you need to start living up to that. And he said after that one person speaking into his life turned him into a Hall of Famer, because he started showing up to be that because somebody else saw that in him. So I totally agree. It's the people around you a lot of times that will certainly propel you to the leader and the successful person you are. So I totally agree. The last real question about you, Barbara, that I think I want to make sure our listeners hear, and then the last two are pretty quick answers, but how do you manage high expectations and stress? Because for me, expectations are everything. Your expectations have to be, whether they're high or low, you need to know what those are so that you can show up in that capacity, right? That's what if I have the expectations to be the president of the United States, then there's some steps that I must take to get there, right? And there's some steps that I must understand that are going to be. So those expectations are something that I think is the foundation of accomplishing something. So how do you set your expectations high, and then how do you manage the stress of getting to them?
I think I set my expectations high, and I always say to myself, I pray a lot, pray every day. I truly believe that a lot that's transpired in my life, I manifested it through prayer. I love to lay in bed and just kind of envision, see myself in this life that I want. I see myself in the rooms that I want to be in. And then it's funny because when I get there, it's almost like, wow, that was fun. That was kind of fun, to see that mentally you can make that happen. And then through mentally seeing yourself in that scenario, it does come true. You're able to manifest the life that you want. It's not like you can't sit around and pray to have, to work for a Fortune 500 company and then you're laying on a couch. It doesn't work like that. I always say you can pray for rain, but you still got to dig. So, you got
to get up.
You got to get up. You got to get up. And I feel like I truly believe that through getting up every day and continuing to work through the things that I'd like to see happen or that I dreamed for myself, I believe that that's how doors just continue to open, right? As long as I always say, people are like, oh, I'm really afraid of entrepreneurship. I'm afraid to take that chance. And I said, when you take that chance, the universe will show up for you. You continue to do the work in the universe, and it's not going to be easy, but the universe will show up for you each and every time if you just would take that leap of faith. And, sometimes when it gets stressful for me, honestly, sometimes I just I got to scream in a pillow. Sometimes I just have myself a good cry. Like some people see crying as a weakness. For me, I see it as a release. It's just I just got to get it out and be done with it. And okay, we're cool. Let's move on. Because I think when you bottle up, that level of stress and you get that cortisol, is that's not good for your health. So, I like to go on walks with my dog, and, I have an incredible circle of friends who I think of the 3 women that I'm friends with, all of them are entrepreneurs. So that really helps in the journey for me to align myself with other successful entrepreneurs. But yeah, I've been married now for almost 35 years this November. So my husband, he's an incredible listener and an amazing supporter. There's no way I could have done this without his support, and just kind of holding it down sometimes for our family. And yeah, you just got to surround yourself with some good people. And get rid of the people that don't bring value to you. Get rid of those people that when you walk in the room and you get a bad feeling, that's not where you need to be. That's not who you align yourself with.
Agreed. You got to have the people around you that expect just as much out of yourself as you do.
That is correct.
And they hold you to that. And the husband, the spouse part, is important as well. But they say behind every good man is a good woman, but also behind every good woman, it should be a good man.
That is correct.
And you are a high-powered lady, high-powered woman, high-powered wife. You have children?
I do. My daughter is 27. She just got married. She'll be married a year.
So, and a high-powered mom.
August.
Yeah. So, it's important, and I think that's something that I also want to make sure that I get out through through to my audience is that sometimes we don't talk about the people in our lives that are behind the scenes that help us get there. So I think it's important that you said your husband is a huge supporter. Men support the women in your life, your wife, your daughters, the colleagues at work. Women have intuition that we don't have, and I'm a big believer that we need to make sure that we support women in our lives because it's only going to propel us higher. So that's important. So tell us, how can people get in contact with you, Barbara? How can they find your company, your dog treat company? And then how can they contact you if they need a mentor or something?
So my dog treat company, and I didn't even share the product, so I'm going to show you guys the product.
Yeah, please do. Share it. Sorry.
So this is Licky Silly. Incidentally, my daughter designed the dog because my daughter, she's an illustrator,
and these are primarily
and I designed the packaging. We went out for a moment.
So you guys got it all in house. I love it. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, we do. So we've got chicken. This is our chicken liver. And then we have what is our Nutter Doodles. This is like a peanut butter treat. And our Nutter Doodles, it won Best Dog Treat by Cosmo Magazine. So we were in Cosmo right here. And
love it.
Yep, there we are. Right there.
And these are primarily on Amazon or through your website?
You can find us on Amazon, and you can find us through our website. Our website is lickysillypetproducts.com. You can find us on Instagram, Licky Silly Yum Yum, because our company was called Yum Yum Puppy. So it's called Licky Silly Yum Yum. And you can find me on Instagram at Barbara Clarke Ruiz, and you can find me on TikTok at Barbara Clarke Ruiz. So you can find Licky Silly on TikTok.
Awesome, people. Well, also, so tell me something. I meant to ask you this, and then the last question is about the pet rescue. But how do you? Because I mean, you got a lot going on, so you obviously not doing this by yourself. How did you put a team together? Because that's something that a founder is probably the most important part about a founder's story. Is not only how did you start, but how did you find the people to help you do all of this, the marketing and the different companies and the traveling you're doing? Like, how did you find the people that help you do what you do?
Well, I don't have a team. I have a person that handles, my social media for me. But aside from that, it really, my dog treat started as a passion project. And we've doubled our business every year that we've had it. But I mean, for the most part, it's my husband and I. We pack up all of our dog treats. We ship all of our orders. And typically when I'm designing for a company, because of the size of the company, I'd only design for that one company. So, it's still a 40-hour work week, and I still have the rest of the day, available for me to do other things. But I manage it. I don't require a lot of sleep. But when you love what you do, you don't even think about it. It's just like, you just love what you do. And I'm building some generational wealth that, my plan for my dog treat brand is to have it acquired in the next 10 years. And so I don't even really think about it. I love what I do.
Love it. A woman with a plan that is carrying it out. It's not even, and the beauty of it is, and I don't know if you talked about emotional intelligence before this, Barbara, but you have it. You have a extremely high level of it. You talked about reinventing yourself. You've talked about treating people right as you move up. You've talked about how you handle stress. I think this has been a great example of how we live practically and we make fulfillment normal through emotional intelligence. This is beautiful. Give us one more thing. Any pet rescue out there? I think pet rescue and fostering is a huge part of what I think a perfect world and a perfect community. You have pets out there that need homes, that need love, and you have people that can use those pets in their lives to get healthier mentally and emotionally. Any pet rescue or pet welfare organization out there that you can give a shout out to that people can go and follow and donate to?
Oh, I love St. Hubert's here in New Jersey. We donate a lot of products to their organization, and My neighbor adopted two of my friends adopted dogs from the organization, and it really is just stellar. So very proud to be supportive of them.
Awesome. Barbara, I love it. Thank you for your patience. The connection a little weird today with freezing and other things are happening, and you've been great. I look forward to all of the things that you got coming and hearing your name more. And maybe I'll get a clothing line or something one day and you can design mine. But this has been great. I appreciate you getting on. People go and follow Barbara on Instagram. Go and get some of her dog treats, Lick You Silly, as they continue to grow. And reach out to Barbara if you have any need for some advice, or I don't know if she's mentoring, but I'm sure just from her warm personality that we can see here today that she would love to help some people out if they need to know how to get to step 1 to step 2. We appreciate you coming on today, Barbara.
Oh, wait, I would love to share that with you because I've actually started to do that.
Please do.
I've had a couple of people come to me recently and they've started businesses that they don't know a whole lot about the area of business. Like, I'm great with consumer products. I understand marketing. I understand a lot when it comes to getting products to market. So I actually started to, I have a person that I'm working with now that I'm helping her to build her pajama business. So yeah, I want to do more of that. Like, I truly enjoy doing that. So that I'm going to add that to my roster.
That's important because I think, again, a lot of times we may be first or second generation. So having people that have gone before you and not just have done it as far as a business perspective, but how did you just get there mentally? Because I think a lot of people just don't understand how hard entrepreneurship is. And you said it, that it's not cut out for everybody. However, I think it may not be entrepreneurship, but just fulfillment. I don't like to talk about success because success is relative. Fulfillment. What are you trying to get to in life that you can wake up every morning and feel good, right? And that fulfillment is just like entrepreneurship. What steps do you take in your life that you consistently do to help you get to step 2, step 3, step 4? So please. And they can reach you on Instagram if they want to do that and reach out and get a mentor. We need them. I've played sports all my life, so coaches and mentors are a huge part of what we do. And you need somebody to speak into your life and keep you in the right direction.
That's correct.
So reach out to Barbara, young ladies, young men, aspiring entrepreneurs, maybe even seasoned entrepreneurs. She's gone a lot further than most, and I'm sure she can offer some advice. So we appreciate you, Barbara, for jumping on. Go follow her. Buy her treats. It's important. She's a part of the Emotional Pet Guy family, and we appreciate you jumping on, Barbara. Everybody have a good day. And remember, this show is about making emotional intelligence practical and fulfillment normal. We love you. See you soon. Good citizens of the earth. Next time.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
About life now, turn on the lights now. The Emotional Pet Guy podcast, yeah. Talking about life now, turn on the lights now.